Good day. My name is Gabriel Quenville, clinical exercise physiologist certified through the Canadian Society of Exercise Physiology, coming to you from PSP. Today we'll be talking about two different programmings which will target your ankle specific to help you improve on your running. The first programming is ankle mobility. So it's going to help us with our plantar flexion, or your ability to point your toes down, and dorsiflexion, your ability to pull your toes up. This is extremely important when running because it allows you to place your foot properly on the ground and extend through and continue power throughout your gait. Decreased mobility will increase your likelihood of being injured because you won't be able to effectively land properly and continue through your stride. The second thing we're going to work on is ankle stability. So basically we're going to work on strengthening those little muscles that we can't really target. And this is going to help prevent injuries such as shin splints or stress fractures. As well, it's going to help prevent any acute injuries by having stronger ankles. Let's say you go on an uneven surface and you twist your ankle a little bit. Having those stronger muscles will help prevent an acute immediate tear. With that, each programming should take around 15 to 20 minutes and can easily be done while watching TV, listening to the news, or putting music in the background. So, let's get started. The first part of the programming for ankle mobility is twofold. We're going to be doing two stretches back to back. At the beginning, I recommend that you go through each of these 3 times and you hold each of these stretches for 30 seconds. As you get better at it, you can start working on being able to go one time through 3 minutes each. A good natural progression would be 3 times 30 seconds into 3 times 45, 3 times a minute, 2 times a minute and a half, a 2-minute hold and a 1-minute hold, and then finally holding them each for 30 seconds. The first stretch is this position. Having your ankle flat on the ground, we're working on pointing our toes back. If you're not feeling the stretch in the anterior portion or the front of your shins, then you can start leaning back and stopping where you're feeling it. Now this is going to take a lot of strength in your quadriceps if you don't sit all the way down, so I recommend having some yoga blocks or something that you can support yourself with your arms. Otherwise, if you can sit all the way down, this will be the next progression. And if this still isn't enough of a stretch and your ankles are pressed onto the ground, then you can add some height onto your toes. So I'm using a mat here, but you can use a towel or anything that's soft. Fold it up, lift your toes up onto them, and add some height there. So when you're sitting down, there's some extra flexion going on at the ankle joint. Hold this for about 30 seconds your first time through, and work your way up to accumulating 3 minutes continuous static hold. So the second stretch we're going to do is for our dorsiflexion. Find yourself a wall, or like I did, a table that's put on its side. Come as close to it with your foot as you can, and then bring your knee into the wall without lifting up your heel. You should feel a nice deep stretch down the back side of your ankle. And if you can go a little bit further, bring your toe back a little bit. Try to touch the wall without lifting your ankle. Hold this position. Remember, the first week, try 3 rounds of 30 seconds. And work your way up to being able to hold it for 2 or 3 minutes straight. We're going to do it on one side, and then we'll do it on the other. What I encourage you to do is to actually measure the distance that your toe is from the wall. You want to try to reach at least 12 centimeters, if not more. And if you notice a discrepancy where maybe one side is significantly further away from the wall than the other foot, then you know that one foot is much more flexible than the other one. And try to spend a little bit more time and TLC on the foot that is not as flexible. Now that you've completed the static component of the mobility programming, we're going to work on the dynamic component. So there's going to be some movement involved. The first part is going to be toe points and toe raises. So we're just going back and forth as far as we can using our muscles, pulling and pushing, trying to get as much movement in here as we can. Going 10 on the left leg, 10 on the right leg, repeating 3 times. Once you're done that, we're going to go around the world. So clockwise and counterclockwise, going 10 total, so 5 per side, switching leg, and then repeating 3 times. The last part is going to be passive and dynamic. Passive meaning that your muscles aren't the ones moving around the joint. However, there's an external force being applied. In this case, it's going to be your arms. So we're going to press our foot into plantar flexion and then press our foot into dorsiflexion. And just repeat and try to get as much movement in there as we can. Doing 10 total per side, repeating 3 times for a total of 30. Now remember, you don't want to feel pain during any of these movements. Whether it's the static or the dynamic component, you want to feel a nice, good, deep stretch. However, if you're feeling pain, this movement might be contraindicated. Stop immediately. Depending on the severity of the pain, or if it persists and continues to last over several hours following this programming, seek medical attention immediately. Otherwise, get a nice deep stretch, work on that ankle mobility, and stay tuned for the ankle stability programming. Now that we've done our ankle mobility, let's work on our ankle stability programming. So we're working on strengthening the little muscles around our ankle that will help prevent acute injuries such as rolling our ankles when running on uneven surfaces, or chronic injuries such as shin splints or even more severe stress fractures. Find a space that's 5 to 10 meters and we walk across it, first on our tippy toes, then on our heels, on the outside of our feet, and finally on the inside of our feet. We repeat that 4 times. Now it's insufficient to just go on your toes and walk across. Let's try to go to the furthest range of motion we can. When we're on our heels, we try to lift our toes up as high as we can. Same thing when they're on the outside, and finally on the inside of our feet. To give you an idea, on your toes, you're up as high as you can, work on that balance, and taking small little steps across. It's about how many steps can you take to cover the distance that you need to cover, not about how fast you get there. On our heels, we lift our toes up, and we focus on lifting our toes up as high as we can the whole time. When we go on the outside of our feet, same thing. We're really trying to get onto the outside of our feet, lifting the inside of our feet up towards the sky. And finally, when we're on the inside of our feet, trying to keep your legs straight, working on strengthening the hip muscles to keep your knees from falling in, however, lifting up the outside of your feet. Repeat that 3 times, 5 to 10 meters per section, and try to get that in at least once a day until you're comfortable with your ankle stability. Same thing with your ankle mobility. Once you're comfortable, then it's about maintenance, and you only need to do this programming 2, maybe 3 times a week. With that, my name is Gabriel Quentville, and I hope you have a great time working on your ankle mobility and stability, and let us know if it's helped you improve your running.